So yeah, my other video got cut off, so I don't know. I don't really care. I'm gonna just do like a part two to it. Come on, yo. So yeah, just getting back to what I was saying about, we're here. We're all again like once we become more self-aware and accountable, that's where the deep acceptance comes in when you're talking about clearing karma. So like even on a global scale, all the way down to the individual itself, like myself. Like, so when you're talking about this as above, so below, you know, on earth as it is in heaven, in a way, it's like that is the aspect of what we're seeing playing out in a more like spiritual sense. So that being said, we all have a responsibility again to clear that path and taking full responsibility. And that's a major transition, like again going through all of the emotions, or going through the motions, the cycles, the experience of not only what we took on karmically, but also what our mother and father, how they connected and met. There was some type of, again, karmic debts or karma that they both had, whatever they dished out, whatever, they experienced on the polarity of things, not only what they experienced, but also what and how they treated other people, again, the integrity aspect of all of this. So that being said, when I'm talking about how like Saturn, and you talking about integrity, there is a thing where you're seeing it play out everywhere, not only in your life, but more so like on this scale of, are you on this side, this side of like being, some may call it the good side, or the side of like, integrity, to where are you on this side of knowing that you're going to receive Dharma, and some may call it good karma, but not even just on, like I said, I'm gonna use this like from the level where everybody can get this. You can call it good and bad. That's your perception. I'm not discrediting you that. You can call it good and evil. I don't care. But those that are on the awareness of like energetically, again, you reap what you sow aspect. So if you've been reaping seeds of integrity, if you've been reaping seeds of authenticity, if you have been reaping seeds even through your, because sometimes we are unaware, like unconsciously, and sometimes we don't even realize like karma actually, the energy actually operates in a way to where subconsciously we've been programmed to believe that we are this, and then take on this narrative, put on this false mask. And see, that's the thing about how even the shadow aspect of who we are and what we try to portray to the world, and if the world is elevating and evolving and changing, then Saturn has a way of exposing that. Exposing the fraud, the inauthentic per se. So if you know you to yourself, like I've been reflecting, I was like, dang, bro, I could have did this. Meaning like, I know I didn't cut corners, or I know, because there were times where I felt like I needed to do this fast. But Saturn is like, again, that, how could I say this, energetic, if you want to call it planet, it's represented in a way to where it's like slow and steady wins the race, or represents lessons. So I would call it like the great grandmother. Some reference Saturn as the father, but I look at it like, when you look at the cycles of life, it's not only patience, but it's lessons you are enduring. So in those lessons from where you are now, were you being true to yourself? Were you afraid of being true to yourself for the acceptance and approval of others? So then you got to realize in that process, were we really putting out, planting seeds energetically? That's just like, let's say someone dresses up as and it's basically like this, like, that, okay, when I come outside here again, I'm putting on this mask. I'm not really being who I am. I'm giving you this analogy. But then when I come home, I put all this stuff down. I'm not giving myself that authenticity, or I'm not being real with myself. I'm not, someone's not being not only real with themselves, but they come out and project it onto their kids, or they project it onto people who, again, that's still in a way planting seeds. And in some way, you're planting seeds, whether in that child's life, to where eventually how Saturn operates, how lessons operate, it comes back around in some way. Maybe it don't maybe come to you, but that's when they say, like, be careful what you do, because it may not come to you. You may be protected spiritually or so forth, but it may come to somebody else. And I'm talking about on all realms. Those who, when I say not cutting corners, let me talk about those who are in the deeper awareness of things like manipulating energy. People think that they've got away with stuff. But that's the thing about the cycles and the beauty of Saturn, and even like the feminine aspect, the principles. Everything what's done in the dark will always come to the light. Always. And so that's the beauty of, even though it may not come around, you may not see it right now tangibly in the physical, there's still a way of things presenting itself, whether in a vision or a dream and so forth. I was telling someone, like, I'm gonna just use this analogy, like, bam, this is perfect. The story of, and I'm just using characters and stuff that I can relate to, because I can relate to in all aspects of life. The story of, I believe it's Joseph. And I don't know the whole depths. I'm just gonna give my like little bits and pieces of it. And this is also, I can add the story of Cinderella. It all correlates to connect in a way. When you look at the story of Cinderella and when you look at the story of Joseph, notice again, when you're talking about, both karmically had to go through things, meaning like lessons, had to go through things with people. And you can reference these people to, your family. With Joseph, his people, so-called sold him into slavery, whatever it is, in captivity. And, but I believe before that he had some type of vision of being in this royal aspect, of being, this prince, so he became, so forth. And same thing with Cinderella. Even though it's not told, like, she may have had dreams and stuff like that, but she had this unwavering faith. She didn't cut corners. She still washed floors. She did a lot of stuff, even when, the hidden jealousy, the people that were jealous and envious of her, that was right around her, that never wanted to see her grow. All of that, was a part of her own experience, her own lessons. But the bigger picture of it, on a micro and macro level, she still was true to herself. She still was honest with herself. She still knew that she was going to become and, be all these things. She still saw herself magical. She, the depths of all that. She didn't give up. Even when people were trying to try to steal her position. I call it, let's say, destiny swap. Or swap destinies per se. Like literally felt like she did not deserve the life that she was going to be given. And it's like literally trying to, like, I love this analogy. It's like, for me to ask you to walk in my shoes, it's like telling Source God, the Most High, that I'm not worthy and I don't have the necessary tools to actually do this. And I don't like to say unfortunately, but that's how some people on their path, they give up. They don't feel like they are worthy of walking that path, because it can become to them very lonesome. They're scared. They may not have the money, the resources, and so forth, because that is a part of going within. As above, so below, but as within, so without. So it's a reflection of truly enduring the storm and learning to become the eye of the storm. So, those sisters, and you can relate this to people in your life, so forth. It don't matter who it is, boss. I'm talking about career, everything. People wanting to be in your shoes, people wanting to live your life, but they can never, this is the thing, is that it's not meant for them karmically to take on what you need to as a lesson, because this whole oversaturation of karma being so horrible. And no, it's a lesson for everybody. It's the beauty of how you can evolve and grow and expand your life, your experience. And it's only meant for you individually, as a person, on a soul level and so forth. So while these people were trying to fit in your shoes, that's like me telling my, cousin or somebody who don't wear the same size shoe that I do to, hey, come and see, basically it's like trying to even compare your life to someone else's. And I've talked about this. It's like, that's very inauthentic or not walking in integrity when we're trying to, the powers that were of even someone trying to convince other kids or people to walk and be like someone else. Just give off this illusion like, you gotta go to school, you gotta do this, everybody gotta do the same thing. And it really takes a lot of courage for that specific person to actually be able to walk their own path, no matter how lonely it may seem it gets. But no one there knows you came here specifically for those lessons. Your individuality, who you are, that's what makes you unique. But again, societally and so forth, mom and dad, due to their own whatever it is, baggage and woundings and, no type of self-awareness, not really living in integrity, projected onto us young and so forth. Then you had all these other external distractions to where it convinced us to believe that our own karma that we need to clear, our own, facing our own paths, facing our own shadows, facing our own fears, is something that we need to neglect and abandon. And that's the bullshit. That's what has been, for me to compare my life to anybody, wherever they are, career, the money they have and so forth. It's like, in a way, I could see how that will make someone grow resentment over time, because I'm not really being honest with myself. And you can see this displayed, and why I tell you about the Cinderella story, because they wanted so much of her life, or wanted to be so, experience and be, a part of the prince or whomever, that storyline. They wanted to be so much in that position, but they didn't really have the integrity to really, like she did, to go through the washing the floors, the taking on all the projections, the going through those cycles of life, and to really get to that reward. And that's the thing about Saturn and karma, is that no matter how it may look on the surface, there is a reward. And some of us are at that place where, again, whether you're on this side of the fence or that other side, it's more so, have you been honest and true to yourself, around the very people who try to outcast you, who try to send, all the magic and all the illusions, and, try to portray this outer appearance, all the while not really being honest with themselves. And so in those moments where it may seem like it's all crumbling and shifting, that karma makes us like see the fact of, like, do we see the lesson in it? And that's the beauty of karma, is like, do I see the lesson? Have I learned the lesson? And so that's where the growth begins. And it can be very uncomfortable for a lot of us, because feel like we've been stagnant or in the same place. And when you are walking in that integrity, it will expose those who aren't. It will expose people who don't really live up to, hold themselves to a standard of, like, being honest, creating foundations of, being authentic. And so with that, that's why it's no surprise why people fall away. That's why it's no surprise as you elevate your mind, wanting to be around like-minded people, wanting to experience a more prosperous and abundant life in some type of way. That is solely because you have been true to you. You didn't want to cut corners. You didn't want to use people. You didn't care to like abuse your power in a way like, you know, steal from people. And I'm talking about on all realms of things. And when I'm saying karma is coming to collect in a way like, or expose, that's what you're seeing on a global scale. That's what you're seeing in the communities, your relationships, and so forth. Because it's naturally, as you are in this energy of integrity, that's the energy of authenticity, which is like one of the highest frequencies. One of the highest truths is your own truth, living in your own truth, where you can get up and, you know, experience joy and experience peace or whatever it is, and not be concerned about like if the world's gonna judge you, or, you know, be concerned of like you got to do this right away, and just because someone says so. So the lesson with a lot of it now I'm seeing is, yourself that you didn't going back to the story of Joseph, is that he was given visions or dreams. That's another beautiful analogy. Like, he was given this sight of what he was going to be, and again he went through that turmoil, those lessons. He didn't know how he was going to get there. It was just shown to him. It's like those of you that have been given dreams and visions. You could have been shown, you living in this home or in this environment. And sometimes you're either there, or sometimes you're either there with some people or not. And so the lesson, the karma, if you're clearing certain things, you're thinking you're supposed to be there with other people and they're supposed to come with you. And in reality, it's like, how longer are you going to repeat this cycle of thinking or assuming that like, this person got to come or this? And in reality, it's like they also, you can be also clearing karma with someone in some type of dynamic relationship. And when that cycle is complete, you're asked again to go to another level in life, to expand and so forth. And depending on who it is and who you're with, you can choose to clear karma together. You can choose to, it's a responsibility and accountability on both parts. That's what we come here to learn and experience. And, so on that level of things, a lot of us don't some people aren't aware that even your kids come to remind you of things you need to clear. And how I could orchestrate that is like, it immediately reminds me of like what I experienced in the childhood, like what my childhood traumas were. And then now being a father, it's like it's accumulation or a clearing of what I need to face internally. The karma that I also experience with women. And again, no one is exempt from it. It's lessons. It's like, okay, what could I learn from what I experienced as a childhood? And now that I am a father, how could I reroute myself? How could I reinvent myself? How could I use that pain and navigate through, literally be honest with myself, in my relationship and partnership with myself first, and with the child, the mother, just so forth, about like, just simple things like, this is where I am. This is where I'm at right now. This is where I realized that, taking full accountability of like, not just what I went through, it's letting go of that baggage. Again, letting that relationship, clearing that karma with the mother, to open up a path where now I can experience a Dharma path. And that's more of a, lighthearted side, prosperous, abundant side, in a way of like experience a life that where things are more balanced, more neutral, or, more focused on a way where things could grow from the pain. And then help me realize that now I can be present, but it doesn't just go away. I still now have to see what I experienced with other women, and then clearing that karma in however way, facing those emotions, facing, all things that come with that. That's a part of the lesson. That's a part of the experience. And then now moving forward, in me facing it, being honest, holding integrity and authenticity to a more higher level, actually a more something that's more valuable, then I don't have to be inauthentic or lie to myself about how it is I feel, about being in a relationship, and even a lot of things that had come with what you experienced or what I experienced per se in my relationships. If I saw relationships or certain things where people I knew that stayed too long and it was like, I only saw trauma bonding, then I have a responsibility in my lineage to be the generational curse breaker, to change that narrative, to rewrite it and be like, you know what, I know my worth, I know my value. I don't have to stay where I don't feel accepted, appreciated, embraced. Instead of the past, karmically, what I saw people go through, or what I put people through, was more so of tolerating, not really celebrating the person who, or being celebrated. You see what I'm saying? So it's like both in the aspect to where two sides of a coin, but on the same thing. So it's like karma and dharma in a way. And we decide that we get to choose whether we want to take full responsibility of our lives and take full accountability of our actions, our role, into where we're going, into what we need to learn. And so that kind of determines what side of, like I say, Saturn, or karma you're on. Have you really faced the lessons? Can you say you didn't cut corners? And that's just what it is, because of again, universal law. And when you look at the countries and everything, we know, I'm very aware that when you cannot not see the inauthenticity or the unfairness or the injustice and so forth in a country, in other countries, in your community and so forth. Okay, that is karmic debt. And so on the other side of that is that if you know that you're living in, you didn't have to cut corners to do certain things, then you have nothing to hide. You have nothing to worry about. And so that is a place of being at peace with self, being at peace with what has happened, navigating through that karma, that energy, to clear it, so you can be at peace, so you can live in prosperity and abundance. And as that happens, as that transition happens, people fall away, because that karma energetically also represents those people. And so how things, again, what is removed shall be replaced. That's karma is cleared for dharma to arrive. And so when we look at the fact of societally and so forth, there's, the greed, the self-righteousness, and all those things, okay, everyone there's a part of something. No matter who you are, your lineage, your family, community, governments, so forth, everyone is not exempt from karma. Nothing is exempt from universal law, is where I'm getting at. And so this is why you see, the old world, the old matrix, whatever you want to call it, everything is being dismantled, because again, it's the old is making way for the new. And with that comes belief systems. Your relationships are affected, economically, everything from the highest of high to the lowest of lows. And so it exposes itself from all realms of things. So it's no surprise when you see people going through the lessons of them really, if you want to call it free will, but they could have had more integrity with being honest about this is what they're doing, and could have made peace with it. You know what I'm saying? With themselves, instead of being concerned about, again, how the world will view them. Which, again, when it comes to that, there is no value in that shit. There is no value in inauthenticity. There is no value in not being truthful with yourself. But again, we have been what everybody assumed. Y'all have been in a fake ass world, fake society, and believing like, this is what, you know, this is how everybody should be. This is how everybody. See, this is why I say, like, there is a debt energetically that has to be paid. You know, and when I say, like, collecting, like Saturn is collecting, it exposing those who, again, who have not been, you know, living in integrity. If you don't know what integrity is, look it up. I can say personally from my own experiences where, and I'll give you an example of it. It's like, you can see people boast about, look at around, like, you can see people boast about what they do for people. You don't need to do that. You don't need to show people that you're giving to someone, or, you know, and so forth. Because in a way that's like egotistical, or you just, it's a self-righteous thing. Like, oh, give me praise about what I'm doing. That's not authentic. But what you have seen on the, like, in the media and all this other stuff, it's all centered around self-righteousness. And that's what humanity have been giving their energy to, but no longer. Because that's what fueled the false narrative. That's what fueled the false identities of these characters who have been put in place in the old world, in the old matrix, whatever. And now they got karma is coming to collect. Now, that's why you're seeing certain characters of people being exposed. Because they also reflect what we've been pouring into and what we've been watering as society. Narcissistic behavior, controlling, abusive, you know, all these things that, again, at a point in time, because we're all not exempt, and we all played a role in it. I know myself, because, again, in the programming, the false programming of literally trying to water a society that really reflected no type of integrity. And then now you're seeing that people who go up there and expose the truth, certain characters, you know, certain people now, let's say on the economic scale or those scale, now that they're exposing certain things, people hate it. Nah, you hate it because you've been, like, people don't realize you've been programmed to love what you hate, rather than, did I say that correctly? Yeah. Like, you've been programmed to, you know, love what you hate about everything about yourself, internally and externally. And so now, when someone is exposing through love, because authenticity, love is a higher frequency, now being yourself or calling shit out and holding people accountable is frowned, it can be frowned upon or hated. And it's like, oh my God, because you got to realize, like, we haven't, this is how karma has come back around. Because it's going to expose everything that's inauthentic. We've been I hope I really said that correctly. Like, and again, it's like, yeah, you've been programmed to love the things that you really, like, hate, instead of hate the, I feel like I said that right. Yeah, instead of, no, is it hate the things that you love? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, basically, like, basically a world that has programmed you to hate yourself in a way, like everything about you internally. And you see this has been paraded around, like like being comfortable in seeing people. People have become so numb to see people, and this side of the table is turning to really see violence as a thing of, you know, popularity. That's what it is. It's like this. When you look at a lot of countries, and when you see what it's, there's this, let me say, America in itself, when you look at the people, and you know, this affects everybody, and this is why a lot of karma is being cleared here. There's so much pride and ego that's being exposed, as well as it prides itself on popularity. And what they're popular on and pride themselves on is money, greed, and a false sense of fucking power. And now karma is coming to collect, because what you give out comes back. And now everything is being exposed on the monetary system, the corruption on the governments, all the way down to the community, all the way down to your ass. Let's be real. Because when it really comes down to, on the higher realm of things, and all the way down, micro, macro, whatever you call it, you know, from the smallest of atoms to the biggest of, you know, science, however you want to say it. Everything, again, that creates that, you know, you know, whatever it is on a grand scale. Now everything is being turned upside down. You know how you turn somebody upside down, everything come out of their pocket. This is what's being exposed in humanity. It's like everything that you're seeing other people, and we so quick to judge them, we're still judging ourselves because we still reflect that. We got to realize your ass also fueled it. We all played a role in it, whether we knew it or not, unconsciously or not, whether we knew it, whether we knew we were doing it unintentionally or not. But then you have those who are being exposed who knew intentionally what they were doing. And there are fucking consequences to that. There is no escaping or running from karma. See, once we accept this, then you'll realize facing that karma and clearing those lessons prepares you for a Dharma path, or a dharmic path, they per se. It's like fate and destiny is what some may call it. And so with that, you know, if you know you, again, I sit back and reflect, and I was like, man, there were times, and I look at my videos, I was like, man, I wanted to, you know, I would get so caught up sometimes and be like, oh, I gotta have these views, or I gotta do this, or I gotta get viral right away. And it wasn't even about that. Saturn was taking me through lessons of fucking, can I have integrity? Can I be true to myself before I get these rewards energetically? Before I get these rewards in my life? Goes back to Joseph. He saw the vision of where he was going to be, but he didn't know his family was going to betray him. He didn't know he was going to be thrown into prison. He didn't know a lot of those things until he got to that place. And those same people that betrayed him and did that, he had, and I don't like to say over anybody, he just was in a position, a higher level position, where he had a, you know, authoritative position to where he could, you know, have this, because dominion sounds like dominance, and no one, basically, he was just in a more authoritative position, let's just say that, to where the ones who thought they were, you know, assumed and betrayed him, thought that, you know, devalued him, dehumanized him, and, you know, outcasted him, thought that he would end up like lower than them because they assumed that they were higher. This is no different than what the fuck is happening right now, and it's being exposed everywhere. You had these people, and that's why you got to have a spirit of discernment. People that have assumed that they are this fake illusion of a hierarchy that, again, that was run off fear. Authenticity, fear is, you know, fear and shame and guilt. Again, the old world was run off that. The old world was run off fear, shame, and guilt. You know, preying on our childhood woundings, or feeding off of our pain of what we've experienced. So when karma comes to collect, or karma comes back around, it exposes everything, every corporation, every person involved, all the way down. And again, the reason why we're not exempt, because we were a part of the shit to bring forth something anew. So that's the beauty of seeing how karma, in a way, prepares, you know, those who assume that that was this hierarchy and all this person and the little pyramid scheme. I'd be like, is just as much as you saw this go up, you know, the top of the pyramid, think about how that flips upside down. So it's like the ones you thought that were here, and this fear that, you know, you got to realize that if someone's here, their greatest fear is them being here. If they're not really being, you know, living off integrity or being honest with themselves. If they're really not secure within who they are, rather than in this false sense of power that they obtained, whether through cutting corners, whether through manipulation, whether through, you know, magic, whatever. And if, you know, once they start seeing signs, and they know now, which a lot of us are aware of depending on who you are, is that they, time was ticking. They knew, or that's the thing about Saturn lessons. No matter what duration, it was always going to come back around. And they was going to be faced with their fate. And no matter where you are in life through your experience, there's a choice to choose whether you want to be honest in those dark moments. And that's like the story of, Joseph. It's like he went through those dark moments. You go through your dark moments. And those dark moments just revealed who you are. Those dark moments reveal who other people are. But no matter how much they reveal to you, your power always comes from within. Do you know who you are? Can you stay true, 10 toes down, as they say? Can you walk in integrity? Are you ready to go through, some may say like, are you ready to give up all your worldly possessions, surrender and let the divine use you? Going through, what some may call like, it's not everybody thing, like homelessness and being betrayed by family. That's why, Elder was saying, she's like, your family or certain people, they actually were assigned to you because of they're your greatest lessons in karma. Because everybody is a version or represent an energy to where they're going to mirror back something to you. They're going to reflect back something to you. And that's the thing about you giving that sight of knowing like, okay, this person isn't walking in integrity. But how much can I fool myself with realizing like, okay, how long am I gonna let this continue to realize there's no lesson? Like, do I see the lesson? And that's when you start choosing yourself. That's when you start choosing to grow mentally, spiritually, emotionally, so forth. And then your environment changes physically. You're never not the same. And so that's when the pride and ego, and that's why you see the destruction happening everywhere around you, or in your life and so forth, where you got people panicking, and the ones that are panicking are not secure within themselves. No one's exempt. There were times where I did stuff and that shit used to eat me up. I'm like, man, you know what? But let me be honest with myself. Let me make peace. Then it comes back around. You have the opportunity to plant and sow a seed of truth, of honesty. Even when you like, let's say you did something, I did something, I'd be like, you know what? I could have done better. But I didn't have to, get over on someone. But there's certain things I used to look back, I'm like, yo, what was I thinking? But then again, I was like, well, let me be honest with myself. Now I could approach it differently. That's the lesson in it. Now I could do differently. Because, and so right now it's like, the reason why a lot of stuff is being exposed, you're seeing who has really been living in integrity. And so it doesn't surprise me where certain things will happen with people. I'm not wishing nothing on no one. It doesn't surprise me. And it doesn't surprise me at all who's removed. Because again, if I'm at this frequency or at this place of literally being in integrity or being honest with myself, I could care less who don't believe that. Because they're not even going to be a part of my reality because they're not living in the same frequency or on the same level. And that's the thing with growing and leveling up. You sometimes we stay somewhere and sometimes we're somewhere where we've learned this lesson. And sometimes that's where the patience comes in, the cycles of life, where we learning to get through these things and have the patience, the consistency. And there's a reward on the other side. I don't care who has told you differently. See, sometimes we'll listen to someone who have cut corners, or we'll listen to someone who really ain't even living in fucking integrity. And some, I've been there, listen to someone, oh, do this, you should try this and do that. And that's been one of the most challenging things, is that I would sit back and listen to people. And then I was like, you know what? Nah. Because when I look at my journey, that's why one thing about me, I wouldn't ever compare my journey. I had to learn to not judge nobody no matter where they are, because I don't know what they went through to get there. And I sure don't know the fuck what they did to, what they went through, or what they did to really get there, in the sense of both ways. Like, I don't know what such and such did, whether good intentions or bad intentions. You know, I don't really know. And before I sit there and just call someone my friend or just be like, oh yeah, you know, or connect, I'm very aware now, very discerning now to be like, nah, I don't know what it took. And that's the thing about, again, we've been praising and living in a fake world. You don't know who these people are. You don't know what come with them and none of that. And accepting things and want to just accept them. And we don't even realize we were being inauthentic. We were being fake. Don't even know who these people are. Then now you surprised and what really comes out about them. I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised at all. Because a month, no, man, you couldn't ever. I wouldn't ever want somebody to experience what I experienced. And there's no shame and guilt in it. It's just like, it was for me. My path was for me. And I realized to the depths of the reward from that. And the beauty of living in integrity and authenticity, like I said, there were moments where, let's say, I could have went and stayed. I could have went and did this. I could have went there and self-sacrifice, or again, create another energetically like way of karma. Because no matter how you look at it, whatever path you're taking, you're creating, you're sowing seeds no matter what. So it's not really wrong or right. No matter which direction you're moving in, you're still creating some type of path to where you're going to have to learn lessons through it, people. All right? You're creating a path that you're still going to have to learn lessons, or lessons will be learned through it. And so it's the deep acceptance, like, you know what? This is what life is. This is what now it's the solution. It's then, like, can I move through it with integrity? Can I move through it knowing, like, you know what? At this moment, my account can say minus whatever. But at that moment, I can visualize or have faith that, shit, if I keep walking in integrity, if I keep walking this path of entrepreneur, not cutting corners, not trying to get over on nobody, that someday energetically what I put out, and I've sown seeds of integrity or authenticity, and I'll align with someone who either will invest and can reflect back that same, reciprocity when it comes to energy, they'll be open to, pour into you, water you. Or I'll get in a position, it happens different for everyone. You'll be in a position where now you can pour more into yourself and help others, however you see it. But again, it's the fact of you doing it in an honest way. And that's what is revealed when you naturally are walking in a path that reflects authenticity. It can become very uncomfortable because it'll reveal those shadows of others who are not walking in that, because your light illuminates that shit. Because you honor both dark and light of yourself. It'll expose, like, how could I use this analogy or example? Let's say, okay, I'll use it like the PPP loan thing. No judgment. But sometimes you feel tempted to be like, okay, let me go through that. Let me do that. But there is a consequence. That's universal law. Okay, you go and do this, and you know that in somewhere that don't add up. The truth always comes out. And there's a lesson in that. Same thing with relationships. Okay, I went in with this intention. But either I knew my intentions wasn't the best, or I knew that I should have been honest. Why am I surprised when that relationship or that foundation crumbles? Because it wasn't fucking built on authenticity. Let's be real. So it's no different than what you see societally. I'm not surprised when people have these brands and corporations. It's because I love that people are more coming into their own power. Because would you rather build something, go through the lessons, build something from the foundation up, knowing that you didn't have to cut corners, knowing that you didn't have to go through this way and do that, and, to really be dishonest with yourself. So that reward gonna hit different, whether 5, 10 years and so forth. When that reward comes, then you will realize it's well deserved. Because through that process, what I learned is that I learned my self-worth and self-value through it. Being around people who were, who had all these things, who had all this and so forth, but their character did not reflect integrity. So now I got to realize, when you think about company and the company you keep, will that reflect the company that I am? Can you say the people currently in your life and the people that you wanted to hold on to desperately, how you know the divine wasn't protecting your ass for something? Because they knew that that person, no matter what this illusion they was giving off, no matter what status, no matter what they had, you don't know what they took to get there. You don't know what vices, what lessons. You don't know what's behind that money. You don't know what's behind certain things. And we're no longer going against our intuition. So just imagine as you went through that. I'm telling you, I've been reflecting on folks. When I was experiencing certain, I'm like, yo, I'm so glad I learned that. I'm glad I went through that lessons where that business transaction or certain things didn't happen the way it should. Because now I can learn that lesson. I can become at peace with it. I can grieve through it. I can accept it. Relationship, businessship, partnership, so forth. Now I can attract something dharmically. Because I realized through that process, it was painful. It was hurtful. When you in partnerships and, you going through that lesson, that what karma was teaching you. Let me go through this. That's what Saturn was showing you. Can you, even though your intuition was telling you, man, I feel like this person doing something fictitious, or, they fraud and they doing something, it ain't right. Governmental, everything. There's no different, all of them. Hiding their hand, all that stuff. Only for it to be exposed. And just because you didn't have this car, just because you weren't here, just because you didn't have this and this, you still had integrity. You still moved through it. I'm talking about times where I only had 2 or 3 outfits, but I still made videos. I still painted some pictures. There were moments where, let's say, they have hot water. There were moments where I was tempted to do drugs, or tempted to do a hard drug. Certain things, there was a moment, and even in that, there's still a lesson for the addict, the person who's going through, whatever lesson they're going through. There's still a lesson. And sometimes we cross paths with those people, and the Most High will see, like, are you going to judge them, or are you going to pour into them? Are you going to pour into them? Are you going to be authentic? Can you say no? That's like, this person has a substance abuse. Can you be honest with yourself and be like, you know what? No, I'm not going to buy you that. I'm not even going to give you this money. I love you though. That's being true. That's integrity. Or, it can look different for everything. And so, again, what you put out, that authenticity, that truth returns to you. That's the beauty of the reward that a lot of us are preparing for. And it's not going to be the same for others. How do you expect to get rewarded off inauthenticity? That's not a gift in that shit. If you haven't really been honest, because again, you've been in a world who's told the opposite of that. The powers that were was telling you, like, oh yeah, you gotta live like, you gotta do like this. You wanna get here, you wanna be in this industry, you gotta do some things for a little bit of change. You gotta do some shit like that. And this ain't for everybody, but you gotta do this and do that. Because look, again, I don't judge nobody, whatever they're doing. Hey, shit. I've saw the most authentic crackhead before, most beautiful spirit, no matter what. She flaunt her stuff. Shout out to her. I ain't gonna call her name, but while everybody else was hiding behind who they were at mask and try to say, oh, I ain't doing it, even though I can see it clear as day, because again, energy don't lie. She was just up front and just like, I ain't gotta put on no front. I do it. Even though she had enough respect. I remember one time she was like, watch out. I don't wanna do this in front of you. But I ain't ashamed because I'm gonna do it. But I don't want to do it in front of you. It's like the respect she had to know, like, some people can see you spiritually. Some people know, like, okay, she wasn't ashamed or felt guilty. But again, karma is a lesson to where how long you're going to keep doing things to where it's not only affecting you, but it has a ripple effect on other people. Like I said, I'm not telling people to be walking just this purity and I'm not trying to paint this picture like everything I do is perfect. Not at all. Again, I had to go through those lessons of being verbally, physically, emotionally abused, to recycling it. Those were karma. That was karma lessons, to being able to now talk about it, to being able now to help others navigate and get through it. You know, however I share the message, because that's about clearing the energy, because the energy starts somewhere, and then we have to decide whether we want to walk in integrity. Because then I don't have to feel shame and guilt behind, like, you know what, I did that. I'm not proud of it, because I realized it hurt me too. It's just as much as it was painful for that person, it hurt me too. So again, a lot of things, this karma thing is that people have oversaturated so much, but they forget about the Dharma. They forget about the fact of like the limitless or abundant peace and prosperity you have after you have faced those things and really acknowledged it and can sit with it and be like, you know what? That was that. Now how could I move forward? So that's all I really got to say. But don't be surprised when a lot of stuff you're seeing, again, being reflected, because again, we were also a part of a lot of what was kept this shit going in a way. Whether you, all corporations, all, you know, all the greed, you know, all the things that reflected so much of basically like inauthenticity. So I'm not surprised at all that these foundations or the people or certain people that were in these places that were the ones that behind the scenes orchestrating it, being exposed. So it's what it is, because that's what karma does. It exposes you to yourself, and that's the thing that you got to be careful of. Is that one thing about people running from themselves? People that run from themselves and don't want to have accountability, again, that goes back to how these corporations, a lot of that stuff was centered around control and narcissism. And that's what's being dismantled or no longer here, is that it's exposing that. It exposes us to it. And then it also exposes the fact of how we were a part of it or played a role in it. And so that's how karma, like the energy, plays out until we create another, you know, a path or, you know, a place of Dharma for those people, those descendants or kids and so forth that come after us. Everybody ain't ready to take that road. Some people want to stay behind. Some people are assigned to just transition and leave through it. It's just what it is. But it's a huge responsibility in just being, again, integrity, growth, the beauty in that shit. Can't run from yourself. So that's one thing I realized, is like the ones that pointing the finger and so easily to judge, what about you? Now, judging accordingly, like in the sense of like accountability, like, yeah. One thing about being in tune is like, if I face my own shit, ain't no way you gonna come and try to tell me like, oh, you should feel guilty and shame. No, that definitely reflects your own internal battle. Your own, whatever you need to go through. Obviously, you got some things in your closet or certain things you haven't faced. And that's what you're seeing, like the distractions with media and certain things is like everybody want to put it off on another country, a politician. Everybody want to put it off on their mama and somebody else. But what the fuck is accountability? Because over here, we gonna hold you accountable. The energy ain't gonna lie over here. And as you can see, no matter what has been projected off into the world, how great America, how great certain people are, it ain't been no type of integrity, no type of honesty. Mother keep trying to brush stuff up under the rug, and it gonna get very, 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 very ugly. It gonna get, cause karma don't mean nobody. Cause you don't never know how that shit come back. That shit hit hard. When they say energy, you don't never know. Those of you that know, like you ain't learned this lesson. Universe be like, all right, universal law, okay. That's why it's so mindful of like what your intentions and what you're really putting out. So that's on the all rim of things. People that, you know, again, the media, the new, everything. There is karma coming. Like, when I say collect, that means like what you put out, there's a collection that comes from that. Like, are you collecting things that are valuable? Again, sowing seeds. You know, so ask yourself, do you want to be a part of not just a country or a part of certain things right now that you know for a fact? And the elder told me this, I'm gonna leave y'all with this. You better get out their way. When people need to experience some karma and you know you trying to get in there and try to save and be the savior and so forth, sometimes you better get your ass out the way. Because sometimes we can be in places, elder was like, you can be in places where you don't even realize like your energy is protecting. Sometimes you'll be going through stuff and wonder why certain things not happening is because not only the Most High is willing to give you something there, you're not supposed to be giving it there. Or some moments, incidents, it's different for everyone where as soon as you are removed, boom, karma hit. That's how I feel like with a lot of us that are shifting in this environment, moving, going places, moving to a different environment, country, so forth. You're being asked because energetically you are, and this goes back to Saturn, this goes back to karma, you are energetically have or had to clear karma ancestrally to prepare your lineage and future lineage, your descendants, for a Dharma path. That's for somebody. Some of you are literally having, and I reflected on this. I was like, dang, when I look at what I went through in my childhood, and then some of my videos reflecting about what I experienced and also my role, you know, a lot of that was a part of clearing the karmic debt of what has been experienced in my lineage or in my family dynamic, breaking generational curses and so forth, generational change. That's clearing karma energetically. And so with that, that prepares you. And so, and I've noticed, like, as soon as I remove myself from people or certain environments, I remove my protection. Because those of you that aren't awareness, like, you know, whether you want to call them angels, spirit guides, ancestors, so forth, you know, there is something guiding you. Those of you, there is something higher that is guiding us through that. And so those karmic lessons are people who are trying to hinder you. Because not all ancestors are, you know, wanted to do to clear karma. Some people wanted to stay in the dark. And so with that, as you grow and become on the other side of Saturn, or, you know, reap the rewards from, you know, shadow work, whatever it is, there is a way of now realizing that you had to walk away. You had to leave certain people where they were, because again, this savior complex is another thing that comes with control and narcissism and a lot of stuff centered around that, because there's this illusion given off that, okay, I hope that continues. There was an illusion given off that you can save people, you know, and in reality, when you look at the governmental structures and a lot of stuff, who have they really been saving but themselves? That's the self-righteousness in it. So a lot of things we are being removed and clearing because that there's a lot that's going to come to the lands, to the countries and so forth, because a lot of that is clearing the slate, or clearing, you know, there's a lot of karmic debt that's being cleared energetically everywhere, from the highest of highs to the lows of lows, as within, so without, so above, so below. So with that, it's just what it is. It don't matter what everybody else doing. Are you on, it's not a right or wrong, but on that right side of Saturn in a way? And that's what truly matters. If you have been true through your journey, no matter what relationship didn't work, no matter what, you know, what you broke away from, and you know, when it comes to like the business and, you know, the all these corporations, you will realize that shit, a lot of your energies kept that shit afloat. They needed you there. Because again, it's like sucking off your energy. Certain things, when you see how a lot of this country, how, you know, using these narratives, what, you know, injustices on melanated people, there is karma to that shit. Not everybody, but that is karma. There is karma, like, and on the higher level things, ancestry, like, people know they gotta pay up or clear it in some way. It's universal law. Yeah. And sometimes the best thing for a lot of us is like, sometimes the greatest lesson is you just moving forward in peace. Nothing being said, just moving on. You know, and that's different for everyone. I don't really love my locks, but on another note, yeah. And that's what taking back your power is no longer giving your power to that shit that lowered your frequency or kept you feeling like, kept your lineage or place in a place of stagnation, or feeling like you wasn't going nowhere. Because taking back your power gives you back that power of being honest and creating something, building something from the ground up, planting seeds that will prosper for generations and so forth, planting seeds of truth and authenticity, not all some shit that you know that's crumbling. Not all something, you know, and you can see this shit in overhaul right now, just like that truck. It's like symbolizing, like, you'll really see the inauthenticity where people, you know, certain things energetically don't have no value because the only thing they can show is their possessions or anything that they have. There's no depth to them. And that's a part of, on the other side of Saturn, in a way, like what people have obtained from this country, what they have obtained through inauthenticity, through greed, through manipulation, through control. And we sitting here thinking like we got to sit back and some of us like assume that, you know, you really want to be where some people are. You gotta realize they collected that's karma that come with that shit that they gotta clear. And some people are too prideful. Some people are too caught up. They're not willing to give back what is rightfully the lands, the properties, the estate. I mean, everything on the global scale, all the way down to the communities and so forth. I'm telling you, I done been in places where nothing can be hidden no more. Nothing. It all got to be exposed for something anew to be built. That's the beauty of, you want to call it the Aquarian age or whatever, the age of enlightenment, the golden, because that's the beauty of it. Everything gonna be returned and more, no matter how people look at it. When you look at, I'm gonna leave you with this, Saturn or karma, the first shall be last. Now, it's already been established that the last shall be first in all realms of things, culturally, national, so forth. So when I see destruction, natural disasters, you know, that's the divine order being reestablished. That's the order of things. This is what it's kind of always been. So people know, you know, no matter where they are, some people know exactly where they are on that spectrum or on that side of things when it really comes to Saturn, because literally it's just a balance. It's not to attack people where they are. I encourage people to grow. I send them love. I send them, you know, healing or whatever it is for them to come to that awareness. I ain't gonna have no pity party though, because some folks know intentionally what they've done and what they've tried to keep going until it was exposed. And there's no difference. I don't compare, because I've been places where, again, or did things where, who am I to judge them? Their judgment comes from something higher than all of us. And so before, you know, some of us, literally when I was talking about how we're clearing karmic debt, is that a lot of us are that karma for our lineage in a way. Like, we carry that to clear it. And some people you just like that are on a higher frequency or higher level or whatever, there's a thing to where certain structures or certain people were not supposed to come into agreement with bringing harm to certain people because their lineage, ancestrally, there is things to where a lot of you are connected to a lot of things higher than, you know, these so-called governmental structures and all this other BS. And with that, it's like, that's why you see an outcry or exposure on these global scales, world politics, you know, so-called leaders and people, because there's something higher calling in judgment. Whether you want to call it God, the Most High, and so forth. Either way, it don't matter what color and creed you are, it happens for everybody. And no one is exempt. So I'm going to just share that with y'all. Just know you are exactly where you are. And no one could have done it better or do it better than you or duplicate it. You know what I'm saying? What you're doing is not measured in time or linear time. What you're doing is infinite in a way. What you're doing is timeless. I'll just say that too. And it just is what it is. No matter how people feel, get prepared. Your table was set, as they say, in the presence of your enemies. That's how the tables have turned. Your table was set because you prepared this table this time. Before, the table was set and there were people there that envied you or had their own shadow, had whatever it is they're going on. And some of them tried to poison you. Some of them tried to manipulate. You know, all these things in a way is like serving you something, again, that either wanted to take you out, didn't want to see you where you are, didn't want you to elevate to this authoritative level or whatever it is, whatever positioning. And it didn't work. It wasn't supposed to. You know, the weapons formed, but they did not prosper. So now they have to watch and sit back and see you prosper. And for some of us, it's either invite only or no invite at all. And there's some will just have to watch from the bleachers. And that's just what it is. Because energy just don't lie. Okay? Peace and bliss. Shalom.